Hi, everyone. Lisa Haven here, and I've got a mega report to share with you guys. I am bringing on UFO researcher, speaker, and author, and one of my favorite authors, by the way, L.A. Marzulli. He's got so much information to share with you about UFO disclosure. As most of you know, we are nearing the 180-day countdown for our U.S. government agencies to release what they know about UFOs. So I thought, who better to bring on to the broadcast who is someone on the inside of what's going on with the UFOs and really dives into the question, what are they and why are they here? So LA, are you with me over there?
I certainly am, Lisa. Thanks for having me on again. Always good to be here.
Yes, as you know, you are my favorite author. I read like your entire, I've seen your whole video collection on Trail on the Nephilim and all of that. So I really love what you do. So I am super excited that you are here. But with that, if you guys want to check him out, you can find his website on lamarzulli.net. I'll leave a link in the description box below. He also has a free video, zero charge to watch it. It's amazing. And it's called UFO Disclosure. I'll also leave a link to that below. But LA, let's start with the big question. What do you think the U.S. government is going to release here in a couple of days? Maybe they're releasing it now. We don't know, but they're supposed to release it by the 25th. What do you think they're going to tell us? Anything, or will it be a big nothing burger?
I'm voting for nothing burger. It'll basically be the Texas two-step. They'll give us, F-18 stuff. We know that it's real. Maybe they'll have some still photographs. And then they'll go, we're really not sure exactly what we're looking at. And they've already kind of hinted that that's where they're going to go. So on one hand, they'll say, well, the phenomenon is real, but we don't know what this is, which is nonsense. They know exactly what this is, and they are in league and have been in bed with these entities literally for decades, How do I know that? We've had whistleblowers come forth, and we've interviewed them. I believe their stories. And so they're rolling it out very slowly. What would be really cool is if they pointed to something like Roswell and said, we tried covering this up for 70 years plus, but we're coming out now and saying that Roswell was a real crashed event. It was a real UFO event. It was a crashed UFO, and we've covered it up. And mea culpa, mea culpa. We're really sorry we did that to the American people. But so here's some pictures. All is well. It'd be really cool if they did something like that. I'm not holding my breath. I think it's the basic Texas two-step, typical Washington doublespeak, where they'll say, once again, the phenomenon is real, but we really don't know what it is, which is nonsense.
I agree 100% because I've read some of the stuff that they released, or the New York Times talked about what they could possibly release, and some of the committees that they've had via our congressional leaders, our leaders here in the U.S. who have been briefed on it. And based off of what they say, I agree 100%. And it's just so frustrating because we know that they know more than they're going to let the American people in on, right? So, but I do think sometime in the future, I don't think via this release that sometime we're going to find out something. Now, here's a big question to you. What are, for those who may not know, what do you think the UFO are and what are they after?
Well, what's amazing about this, they've just released the tip of the iceberg with all this stuff. They talk about the tic-tac shaped UFO, and that was recorded earlier, over a decade ago, I believe. But it was released on Tucker Carlson's show, the actual photograph and stuff, in December of 2017, which that was the beginning of the disclosure ladder, as I call it. Since then, it's been going up and up and up. They're kind of rolling it out very slowly. The question is, why now? But notice that they're just peeling back the first layer. Okay, here's the craft. It's flying around. Here's some pictures. Here's a fuzzy UFO. I mean, we've already got pictures, which we've shown in our Watchers film, and I actually show it in the Disclosure film, Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception, The Luciferian Endgame. We show that clip, which is the Kumburgaz UFO, which guess what? Not only has the UFO in it, and it's the best, I think, the best UFO footage I've ever seen, because not only are we seeing the craft, but we're seeing the occupants in the craft, and they are the Greys. So something is going on, and most people have only seen the first layer. We're so far down the rabbit hole with abductions, with implants, with crop circles, with the creation of a hybrid entity. These are the days of Noah. These are not extraterrestrial beings, in my opinion. They are interdimensional entities, which are their whole agenda is to create a hybrid race. Dr. David Jacob, who I've interviewed numerous times, he's sort of on the decline right now, which is very unfortunate. But before that happened, Jacobs wrote a book called Walking Amongst Us, where he talks about that the hybrid, and he's been following this for decades, just like I have, that the hybrids now, these human so-called alien, which are not alien. Well, let me define that before we move on. Alien is anything off-world. If you come from Venus, you're an alien. If you're from another dimension, you're an alien. So anything not originating on this earth is by definition an alien. So when I say alien, that can include interdimensional entities, which is what I think we're looking at. These are not extraterrestrial, they're interdimensional. So Dr. Jacobs has been following this for decades, just like I have. And we know that they are very, very interested, these entities, wherever they're from, whoever they are obsessed with creating some sort of a hybrid being. And we've had reports from people that have encounters with these hybrid entities. In fact, in the film Disclosure, Al Matthews had an encounter with a woman, Diane Kelly, who, in my opinion, was a hybrid. She goes to kiss him, and this whole thing is bizarre, spoiler alert, but she goes to kiss him and he pushes her away, and her eyes go reptilian. They completely shapeshift. And in the whites, they go all yellow. And up till that point, she wore these dark glasses, almost like swimmer goggles. They were obviously very special, that wrapped around her head, which wouldn't allow any light in. That's earlier in the interview with Al. So much later on in that interview, he goes up to where she lives. She's with a friend, and she takes the glasses off and she goes to kiss him. And that's when all things go south. And that's when he came running to me via Gordy Tong up in Canada. And I counseled with him and talked with him for probably an hour that night. We sent him a bunch of literature. And that's when he gave his life to Jesus. And that's when the abductions, he's a lifelong abductee. We talk about that. So the public knows this much of the UFO puzzle, which is very nefarious, very dark, and it has an agenda. And that is to create a human-alien hybrid, which then can interface in the world. And we're already seeing it. We've had reports from people.
So that would be more of a end time Bible prophecy sort of thing, which I've talked about here a lot. So this is a satanic agenda, if you will, for what specifically?
Well, this is why we call it the coming great deception and the Luciferian endgame. Why would former President Barack Hussein Obama, out of all the things he could talk about, right, in light of the UFO disclosure, Obama goes, there's going to be new religions. How can he make a statement like that? How does he know there's going to be new religions? I mean, what does he know that we don't know? And why is it at the top of his list? New religions, and then we're going to see the military expand their budget. Okay, so he's on the inside track, at least in some way. So look, what people need to understand, and this is why we released the film for free, Lisa, is because I call it the coming great deception. I believe that the church is taken out before the full revealing. But the bottom line is we're already seeing so much stuff. We don't know how long we're going to be here before that happens. We're already seeing it. I never thought I'd live to see the day, but we are. It's happening as I speak. And it's in all forms of media. It's not just George Norrie anymore, coast to coast. I was on his show a week ago, last Monday. And, George, I said, George, this thing's coming down. And it's no longer, tinfoil hat conspiracy people. But people like George and you and myself are so far down the rabbit hole, we know about the other agenda. So Obama's talking about new religions. I've been banging this drum for decades, that when they show up, the religions of the world will in fact fall of their own weight. They will collapse. Why? Because so-called ET, which are interdimensional entities, i.e. fallen angels, posing as extraterrestrials, they will say that we, ET, created all life on this planet, that we started the world's, we genetically manipulated early man, we jump-started the world's religions, kick-started the world's civilizations. Now, at this critical juncture in human history, we're back to usher mankind into a golden age. I'm not making this stuff up. I heard this literally 45 years ago when I was involved in the New Age, before I was a Christian. I've only been a Christian 41 years. So 45 years ago, in New Age circles, all this was being bandied about. That when they showed up, certain people would be lifted off the planet who weren't ready for the paradigm shift. There's actually a Hollywood TV show talking about something like 100 million people vanished from the earth. Gee, what does that sound like? They're already promulgating it, for crying out loud. So this new religion, which I believe will be the religion that we hear about, the one world global government, the one world global religion, will have its roots and underpinnings in the whole so-called ET agenda.
Now, when do you think that I mean, nobody knows when, but do you think the government will end up disclosing it? Well, like we've already referenced, we don't think they're going to release much or a nothing burger in the next couple of days. But that aside, in the future, do you think that it will be disclosed via governments of the world, or they'll just make themselves known? How do you foresee that going?
I think when disclosure happens, it will be, what we saw with COVID-19, the Wuhan flu, right? Whatever you want to call it. The entire planet in lockstep shut everything down. Never seen anything like that before. That's a precursor to what we're looking at. When they show up, Lisa, everything changes. Life as we know it will be referred to before they came and after they arrived. That's how it will be. It will change everything and do so radically. The religions of the world, and I'm not making this stuff up, Stephen Bassett's been banging this drum for a long time. The religions of the world will just crumble. They'll fall to their own weight because ET will tell us, this is what they'll tell us, that they created Jesus. They created Buddha, Mohammed, Krishna. That's what they're going to say. They'll have holographic film of the crucifixion. How do I know that? Because we've talked to people that have seen it. Abductees who have been taken aboard the ship have seen, allegedly, holographic film of the crucifixion and then the resurrection. They've seen that. Of course, it's not what we believe. The grays are all over this thing. And, Jesus is one of theirs, as it were, which is why he could do all those miracles. I mean, they're gonna flip everything like this. And what they'll tell us is, well, we couldn't really come forward because you guys were too primitive. But now, the Industrial Revolution, and here you are. It's the atomic age, and you're ready. You're ready to become part of the galactic community. Welcome to the coming Great Deception. And they'll have two things. And you've heard me talk about this at conferences. How many years does this go back? They'll have two things. They'll have the free energy, which pilots the craft, and they'll have this little implant, which you'll take on your back of your hand or on your forehead, which will change your DNA so you'll live 300 to 500 years with absolutely no diseases at all. And they'll couch it as a DNA upgrade, and it will be mandatory for everyone to take the mark. How do I know that? Because we've taken out the implant. We had a guy who was abducted numerous times from 5 years old to 45. We did the surgery. We're the only Christian team that's ever done this. It was patient number 17, Dr. Roger Lear, his protocol. We did x-rays, CAT scans, ultrasounds, the whole 9 yards. It's all in the best of watchers. And I'm making part 2 to this film. We're going to show some of that in part 2. Because, again, we need to educate people that you think UFOs are real? You have no idea of the nefarious agenda that they have planned. Cattle mutilations, implants, the hybridization, this human alien hybrid. They're already walking amongst us, according to David Jacobs, who was a secular researcher, who doesn't have the biblical foundation like we do.
And all of this, like the mark of the beast, that was spoken of in Bible prophecy, things that were warned, years before the technology even existed today. So I find that absolutely fascinating, especially from our Christian perspective, because much of it is in line with the Bible and Bible prophecy. And that's why I like what you do, because you really dive into the questions that no one's asking or wants to ask or dares to ask or gives you the label of conspiracy theorist or whatever. And today that's the case. I think there's more and more evidence coming out in public. We know Tucker Carlson did an entire episode on it. We've had the former, FBI director, I'm blanking on his name. Was it the FBI director come out and talk about?
CIA. It was, yeah. I know who you mean. I can't think of the guy's name either.
Like, it's on the tip of my tongue, but he came out as...
Right. Yeah, no, he said the same thing. He said that the phenomenon is real.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information that has been leaked, and you were years before any of this stuff started coming out because you've been one of the first people. You, Steve Quayle, and people like you guys have so much amazing information on all of that. In a nutshell, I guess you've got that disclosure video. Or let me ask you this, maybe a different direction. Have you yourself ever experienced UFO or seen UFO? I know that you interview thousands of people who have had experience, probably even more than that by now. But have you ever had any experiences?
I had my first when I was 12 years old, which was a game changer for me. It changed my life. It showed me that there's something called herd mentality. So I'm at Boy Scout camp. I'm about 12 years old. Four of us are walking up this ravine, boulder to boulder. It's a dry creek bed because we're taking a shortcut to get up to the campsite for lunch. We're hungry Boy Scouts. We're 12 years old, right? What can I tell you? So we're all in single file like this. And the lead guy goes, "Oh my gosh, what's that?" And the other two guys go, "Wow, what is that?" And I go, "Where?" And they point there. And I look up. It's the classic silver disc, Lisa. The classic silver disc. And the sun is glinting off of it, and it's just hovering there noiselessly. And all of a sudden it goes, fweek, shoots straight up. You could follow it, but like in a second it's gone. Just shot straight up into the air. We go running back. We saw a UFO. We saw a flying saucer. The entire scout troop huddles around us with the scout and masters. And we're telling them what we saw. And we're all excited, as 12-year-old boys get, right? And that was at lunchtime. By the evening meal, the other three boys denied they had ever seen anything. Why? Because of the ridicule. Because of the ridicule. And they denied that they had seen anything. And I stuck to my story. I was called every name in the book. That was my first one. The second one is when my wife and I are driving on Pacific Coast Highway after a wonderful Italian dinner at Spruzzo's, which is right on the coast, overlooking the ocean. So we're driving up Pacific Coast Highway. She's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. And I go, "Wow, what's that?" And she goes, "Oh, it's probably a plane. Because when planes come at you, there's this big light." And I go, I'm looking at this thing going like, I don't think it's a plane. No, it's not a plane. It's not a plane because this thing's just hovering, just sitting there. There's just a light in the sky. All of a sudden, here's the light. All of a sudden, above it, boom, another light appears and slowly descends into the big light. And then the big light breaks up in the concentric rings like this and vanishes. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh my gosh, we're not in Kansas anymore. Did you see that?" And we pulled over on the side of the road, and all of a sudden, boom, it came back again. It did this 3 times. And from that, the Lord, the Spirit of a living God, got me up that morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and basically gave me a spanking. And basically the spanking was, took me to the woodshed and said, "What are you doing, LA? You know, you're the one that's flailing their arms, warning people of a coming great deception. And here you are, you see something in the sky, and you stop the car and get out and look at it. Rebuke first, ask questions later." His saying, not mine. Rebuke first, ask questions later. And you've heard me say that before at conferences. When we see something like that, it'll suck us in completely. But what we need to do is rebuke first, ask questions later.
Awesome. Well, what would you encourage people to amid everything that's going on with all the information that they're inundated with in regards to UFOs, this coming releasal of the report? What would you encourage people to do now?
Watch the film Disclosure. Let your family see it. Give it to your pastor, rabbi, priest, imam, whatever. Watch the film. Arm yourself. Understand what's going on. When you watch this film, and at the very end of the film, after the credits, there's a little thing I say, a little call to Jesus, and people have talked about that, but it's not overly religious, and it's at the end of the credits, so you can either watch it or not watch it. I did that deliberately, but you can invite your friends over, pass it forward. Look, it's free. It's free. I can't do any more than that. We're working on part 2, which has even more information. So that's how important I think this is, which is why we released the film for free, Lisa, because, oh my gosh, it's coming down. The church is asleep, or at best, ambivalent. At worst, completely asleep. At best, ambivalent. It's time to get the word out. We've done the homework. We've done the work so you don't have to. Watch the film, pass it forward.
And I'm going to leave all the information for that video in the description box below. It's found on the direct link is streaming.lamarzulli.net. But I've got a direct link in the description box below. So make sure you click that. And LA, if people want to contact you, check out your YouTube channel or your website, how can they go about doing that?
That's just lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. You have ways of contacting me via email. If you've got a story, if you've got pictures, please send them my way. lamarzulli.net, and you can, from there, you can just shoot me an email from that site.
Perfect. And he does. If you guys have seen UFOs, have pictures of any of that, send them to LA Marzulli. You can contact him through that website. I'm also going to leave his YouTube channel below so you guys can check that out as well. And make sure you guys check out some of his video footage and books that he's written there. I've read pretty much 90% of them and watched 90% of them. So thank you so much. I'm getting close to 100% here soon. There's like one or two things I got to catch up on. But thank you so much, LA, for coming on. I truly appreciate your input.
Thank you so much, and God bless you and the show.
Well, God bless you as well. Anyhow, with that, please don't forget to check out my partner at hidewithlisa.com. Right now, you can get 30% off of a VPN for life. That's at hidewithlisa.com. If you really want to hide that information that you're looking for or that you're searching on the internet, it really is nobody's business what you're looking at. That's why a VPN is so powerful and so good. So check it out at hidewithlisa.com. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, and that was LA Marzulli signing out.